Alright guys, I'm doing part 2 of this video. This guy's a good guy. He wants to stop the knife crime in London.
So that's in less than 20 hours?
I totally agree with the guy. I mean, knife crime is annoying in the UK. You know?
Make sure you check the kids' bags, make sure you talk with your kids, and make sure you've only got a few knives in your kitchen drawers, yeah? Enough love, everyone. Stay safe. Wicked. Yeah, man. Bless up. Bless up, man. Supporting the team all the time. Big up my man. You don't know. Try to do our best. We'll feed as many knives as we can. We'll refer as many kids as we can. We'll change as many kids' mindsets as we can. That's all we can do. Man, that's your bad, that mind got on top and murder the boy. We'll kill my son right here. In a year, who knows? Hopefully, we'll have cracked the whole of London. And life crime will be reduced by then, hopefully. Don't be a knife man. Listen, the man rockers and the flinty bad man. Don't know. Yes, sir. Oh!
Well, you got to think about this, guys. Knife crime is not the answer. If people sat down and actually spoke to people and communicated with people, the crime wouldn't happen. People are getting a good understanding about people and how their brain works and how their body language is. You know, I'm going to put another video on now, I think. I do quite a few videos of these, and it's not too bad, I suppose, but that's 2 weeks ago video. Let's try and find what we're looking for here. We've got London Knife Wars.
Just the other week, a 14-year-old boy became one of the latest victims of knife crime, following a year in which 17 teenagers were stabbed to death in London alone. So tonight, we are joined by the police, politicians and an audience of Londoners as we debate London's knife wars. What's the solution?
Police were called here to the Tulsa estate last night at 10 to 11.
He was just 15 years old. Another teenage knife crime
Neighbours today at the spot where a 17-year-old boy was stabbed to death last week.
I'm tired of hearing, reading.
sitting back and watching.
Cacophonies of crime being the news that we're lost in.
Pictures, headlines, knife statistics risen.
It's the same old story.
Death or prison.
But surely there's a root to the problem.
A way out.
A city that parents can send their kids out.
That their child's potential will be fulfilled. I guess the question is, how do we make them yield?
You see, it's not through brutality.
Or locking them away, but stopping, asking.
Hearing what they have to say.
Wow. That is a fair point.
Tonight, we are looking for solutions to one of London's most serious issues, how to cut knife crime. I'm joined by families who've lost children, along with stab victims, former gang members and young Londoners, all with strong views on the issue. Omani, you were stabbed 7 times in 2011. Do you think the situation's out of control?
I don't think it's out of control. It's definitely getting worse. And there's a lot of organisations and individuals working to find solutions now. So we're coming together as a community, and I think we're going to start making some leeway in this. Definitely.
What happened to you?
So I got stabbed at 21. I intervened in a fight that basically had nothing to do with me. Ran my mouth to the wrong person and got some stab wounds from my troubles, I guess.
Would you do it again?
Definitely think twice. But I think the outcome of getting stabbed and being able to stand up and be a role model for some of the kids that have been through that situation and show them that you can turn your life around and have a positive outcome is definitely worth the pain that I went through.
Thanks for sharing your story. Samir, I want to come to you. I know that your son was stabbed to death last year. What impact has that had on your family?
My son, Sammy, he's my only son. He was 18 years old and he got stabbed on his way back from watching West Ham, his team. And my life has ended when he died. I lived all my life for him. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss him. He used to be more than my son. He used to be my best friend. I was a single dad since he was 5. So we did everything together, and everywhere I go to, we used to go together. So now, whenever I go to a place, I miss him. I miss him, and that's the hardest thing. Now he's gone, and nothing feels the same anymore. It's been really difficult in the past few weeks with Christmas, especially. With him not being around, it doesn't feel like Christmas anymore.
So here, your views, please, on the situation in the capital when it comes to knife crime.
Obviously, it's very hard to have a balanced view when you've been hurt so bad. It's quite clear that whilst there might be some progress and there are TV shows about it and we're here today, it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near enough. I don't feel like anything is being done. The numbers that keep coming up, it feels like there's a civil war running in the streets, but there's not enough intervention, not enough prevention, not enough deterrence to, from the beginning of the process where these kids feel like they this is the only choice. We worked very hard with our son to make sure that he feels like there's a choice. He was studying to be a lawyer. One day he would have brought justice to some people and helped some people and set some sense of fairness. But the worst irony for us is that somebody who is meant to help other people get justice has lost it himself.
Thank you both, first of all, for sharing your story with us today. We had hoped to be joined tonight by the Minister for London, Nick Hurd, but he pulled out just yesterday, and also by London's Mayor Sadiq Khan, but he would only take part if the government did. But we are joined now by the Deputy Mayor for Policing, Sophie Linden, the Conservative Vice Chairman for the London Region, MP Paul Scully, and Assistant Commissioner Mark Simmons from the Metropolitan Police. Sophie, is this really Sadiq Khan's number one priority? And if it is, why isn't he here today?
It's absolutely mine and Sadiq's number one priority. My heart absolutely goes out when I hear and read mess and hear the stories of losing your son and your nephew. And I would feel absolutely the same, that not enough is being done. And when you hear the number of murders in London, it is incredibly difficult. You can't get away from the fact that too many, especially young men, have lost their lives in London over the last year and over the years
before. You say not enough's being done, but it's your job to look after Londoners.
That's how I would feel. What we are doing, the Mayor is doing everything he can. The reasons for the rise in violence are very complex. The Mayor is investing in the Metropolitan Police, and I'm sure you'll come on to Mark, who will talk about how the Metropolitan Police are out there day in, day out, making arrests through the Violent Crime Task Force. Over 2,500 arrests last year, nearly 1,000 weapons off the streets. But that's about reducing the level of crime now, and that's absolutely right, and getting on top of it now. What the Mayor is doing is also investing in the long-term strategy and prevention, working with schools, working with families, and working with communities to make sure that we can keep it down.
I'll just stop you there for a moment. Do you get that sense that this is the Mayor's number one priority? Why not? The gentleman here. If you could stand up for us, please.
Well, as a young person living in London, from my perspective, he was elected in May 2016. He didn't react fast enough. It seems like now he's just reacting because of public pressure. More public pressure would have been put on if it wasn't for Brexit, so he's got a scapegoat there. And to be honest, he's implemented all these task forces and stuff like that, but not enough's been done. It's been too quick. It hasn't been quick enough.
A few more views from the audience before we answer some of those questions. Some of you had your hands up. The person at the back there.
I just wanted to say, I heard somewhere that violence incites violence. And I think that that's not the way that we should be approaching young people and in their areas where they need help. I feel like if the police, the Metropolitan Police, were able to come with open arms to these young people, will breathe a different type of response to them instead of coming with them with guns.
Okay, well, why don't we put that point directly to Mark Simmons, Assistant Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. To that young man's point.
So there's more than one side to what the police are doing about knife crime. So some of it absolutely has to be about us using our powers to try and take knives off the street, to try and do something about the people who are causing the violence, whether that's people who are running drugs markets that generate some of the conflict that leads to violence, whether that's people who carry knives. So we have to use, we are the police, part of our job is to use the powers we're given, like stop and search, to take weapons off the street and to deal with people of violence. It's not the only thing that we do and not the only thing we should be doing. We're investing in more officers working in schools, more youth officers working with young people in schools. We know that has a positive benefit in terms of relationships with young people and making young people feel safer because they've got someone to go to. We're working with other organisations, other agencies, local government to do interventions to try and divert people. So it's not the only thing we do, but it is an important one.
Okay, Mark, can we come to you, Paul? We know that police coverage in London is at its lowest level for 20 years. We've heard from Sahir and Samir, who lost one of their family members last year, that they don't feel there's enough of a police presence on the streets of London.
Yeah, well, look, what you've got, you have to have the multi-agency approach, as Mark mentioned. And so what the government has done, they had the police settlements last year where we've given more money as a response to London MPs and the Mayor of London and other people are actually campaigning for extra funding as we're able to sort out the public finances so we can start to release the purse strings a little bit and put that extra money in. And now we need the Mayor of London, who's the police commissioner for this area, to make sure that he's taking his responsibilities right, getting that giving the operational control to President the Met Police Commissioner, to give her the resources.
Facts are in this case. The government's taken £850 million out of the Metropolitan Police since 2010, and it's going to have to take, the Metropolitan Police will have to take a further £235 million out. That means police officer numbers are now below 30,000. So it's all very well Paul saying the Mayor of London should be doing this. But actually, the police budget is very much dependent on government funding. What the Mayor of London, what we have done, over and above the previous administration, which was, Boris, the Mayor has put more in.
Sorry, but the TV's just turned itself off, guys, again. Really annoys me when it does that.
Stop you there. Yemi, can you share your story with us? And in fact, tell us what you make of what you've been hearing so far.
Okay, so my son was 19 when he was murdered. He was stabbed almost 20 times on the estate that he grew up in. Prior to his murder, I'd tried to inform the police because there was an ongoing problem with him and some of his ex-friends. And I was able to give names and dates, cards, addresses, all the information that I kind of knew as to what was going on. And when I'm talking about incidents that were going on, I'm talking about shootings. People were being shot in their face. My house was being smashed. My car was being vandalised. And it was an ongoing problem. But the police didn't really seem to help me at that point. It was only after my son was murdered that the police kind of stepped in to try and seal those convictions, of which four boys were convicted for murder and manslaughter. From what I've been hearing, it always seems to come down to money, like our children's lives don't mean anything. We can't do this because we don't have a budget. We don't have that because we don't have money available. You can't put a price on the cost of somebody's life. I blame the government. They need to stop saying it's about money. Money. Let's just do what we need to do, and everybody needs to come together to make these changes happen.
Let's just hear from Duncan here, because you are on the front line. You're a trauma surgeon. Can you give us a sense of how many cases you see, the injuries that you're dealing with?
Yeah, so very sadly over the last 8 years we've seen the numbers of people injured double. And it's not just life injuries, it's injuries of all kinds, blunt injuries, not just physical injuries, sexually motivated injuries, domestic violence. It's really important that we broaden the narrative around the kind of violence that we're seeing. The number of people who die equally doesn't tell the whole story. We see people with all kinds of injuries, with life-changing injuries, and then there's a psychological injury that happens, and the impact on the wider community and families around us we're hearing today. So I think that for us in healthcare, we've made really big strides to improve the kind of care we can provide to people who are injured. But we're repeatedly seeing people coming to harm who are vulnerable, who we know honestly that could have been prevented. And as a society, we really have to answer that question: how can we prevent them?
Duncan, has the nature of the injuries that you're seeing changed?
I think it has, but I think that we need to really talk to our local communities, we need to engage with them, understand the kind of risks that they're facing. There's a narrative quite often which tries to fit a predetermined filter narrative around the kind of injuries that we're seeing. We don't see a lot of people who are injured in gang activity. A lot of people who are injured because they're scared on the streets, they don't feel safe in the local communities, they feel like they need to protect themselves by carrying a knife. We need to be asking questions around why do people not feel safe in the local community.
How many people here feel safe? Do you feel safe in London? You do?
I feel safe, but that's because of my mindset. When you have a certain mindset, and obviously there's things that happen, but my thing is that we are looking at people who already are saying that they're going to cut more money out of funding. Why are we looking at them for solutions? We've got to take our own solutions. It's a no-brainer. We're trying to place blame, but actually we all just need to take responsibility, and everyone's doing their own little thing. Let's link up, and let's not worry about the people that who have been part of the problem anyway. Because if we ain't got more police, how worse is it going to get, realistically? So let's just get together, people link up, exchange numbers, no business cards, and let's just do the work.
Thank you. I want to come to you. So do you feel safe?
I sometimes feel safe, sometimes I don't. When I went to a primary school that was in a relatively kind of poverty, almost stricken area, where there'd be police there on and off, and there'd be a lot of young people who would say that they weren't feeling safe and would resort to taking knives in result of that because they didn't feel safe and they didn't trust authorities to keep them safe. And recently I was walking through there and I saw somebody get shot in my own two eyes. And
you saw someone get shot?
I saw someone get shot, and it really made me think, like, oh my God, what is happening? London is turning into something else, something that I am becoming afraid of.
Christopher, you teach in East London. You see the fallout of knife crime. What are you dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
So we will work with children who have been stabbed or who will stab or have stabbed.
When they turn up at school?
Yeah, so we will have children coming to school bleeding. They've kind of put tissues and they're, shoved that down their tracksuits and stuff, but the blood will seep through. But that's a common occurrence. But even as much as this Friday, we had a boy left my classroom stabbed 9 times on the way home. That's this Friday. And we're having this quite routinely now in a quite shocking way. But I think the issue with this war thing is that the boys aren't soldiers. They are children. They like to see themselves. They like to see themselves as soldiers, and certain aspects of a right-wing media would like to see them as soldiers as well because it helps, push their agenda. But really, people who are carrying knives, they're not mindless killers out for violence. They're very scared and very vulnerable. And they say stuff to me like, "Well, sir, you're a civilian. You're a civilian." But what does that make them? We have to unpack these ideas around masculinity and the vulnerability that causes someone to be so scared that they're willing to almost kill out of fear. So I think that education has to be one of the most important parts because we're putting plasters on the problem now. We're not tackling the root. So.
I just want to come to you, Omar, because you used to carry a knife when you were younger. Can you tell us why?
I've been stabbed twice, and I just thought, next time I don't want to get stabbed, so I thought I'd carry a knife. But I had a conversation with my dad, and we spoke about the second I stab someone, I go full circle. I now become the murderer, and I thought that isn't the way forward. I did 6 presentations today at school talking about knife crime. And I think the main problem is that these young people are playing games where you can stab people and walk on and get into a car, steal a car. They're listening to drill music. They're desensitized. I'm talking to murderers who are killing people. And life doesn't mean anything to them. So it's not just the government or the police. It's parents. Watch what your child's watching on TV. Watch what they're playing. That's how it's going to help.
And on that point of drill music, we hear drill music being talked about, and I heard a lot of people chatting. Do you think that it's a distraction from the root causes, or do you think it is a problem? Can we go to you over there, Pedro?
I'm someone that makes music myself. I'm a music producer, and I would make a drill beat as well. I feel that the music is an issue, but it's
very minuscule compared to everything else.
Chris Preddy, can we come to you? You are a role model to people. You are. I think that's proven. Can you tell us why, what work you do, and why you think young people carry knives?
I run an organisation called MDR, Make Dreams Reality, and I think just to start on in the sense of the drill music, in the sense of what some of the people were saying, it's not what you're saying, it's how it's being said. And I'm not saying none of you man them are wrong. Let's just listen right now, because I know you lot like, this is our era. Grime was my era as well. It's not what you're saying, it's how it's being said. No one's saying that you can't share your story. Do you know what I mean? There's difference to, I've got a gun in my waist, I'm going to shut up the place, to, the guy had a gun in his waist, he shut up the place. It's still the same conviction, but it's just how you say it. And I keep saying to us, we need to take ownership. And everything time we keep pointing fingers. Stop and search your kids before they leave the house. How much about stopping and searching our kids before they leave the house? Let's not point the fingers at the police and the government, because guess what? They're only dealing with the problem when it actually happens. We know what's going on in the community. How much is after building report? How much men are out there? We're not out there as men. We're not out there pulling up our boys saying, yo, big man, what are you doing? Come over here. We're leaving them, letting them walking on. And some of you guys need to take responsibility. You man them as well, young kids. Take ownership. Some of you lot keep sitting there, peer pressure. It wasn't my fault. Stop feeding into the narrative. You are not that. They keep telling you, oh, you guys are gang war, war life. You're not that. Drive your narrative and let them know that we are standing together.
Thank you. Here, I want to come to you, because it's not, you don't think it's just about role models and families. Why not? What are the causes for you?
Well, let me pick up on one of the points that was raised by the police representative. So you mentioned the role of illicit drug markets, and I agree that they're a serious problem, but I think we need to be realistic about the fact that the illicit drug market in the UK is worth about £7 billion. Now, if you're a young person in 2019 and you're not doing well in school, you're probably going to face a series of very insecure, low-paid, badly paid, short-term work contracts. And that's incredibly difficult to then live in a city like London. And if you're living in relative poverty in a very unequal city, the fast money that's associated with illicit drug markets is very attractive. Now, I'm not saying that all of the violence in London is directly linked to illicit drug markets, but where they're established in certain areas of the cities, that means that young people who live in those areas, who may have nothing to do with drug dealing, nevertheless perceive themselves to be living in dangerous environments. And as Duncan said, that's when young people start to carry weapons for protection and to feel safe. And I think we need to give serious and careful consideration about the prospects of legalising and regulating our drug markets, because an increasing number of MPs and professionals are agreeing with this because they can see the intractable nature of that problem.
Okay. You are watching London's Knife Wars. What's the solution? You can join in with the debate and have your say on the BBC London Facebook page and on Twitter using the hashtag BBCLKW. And we're looking for answers now. Let's talk about solutions. What are the solutions to the problems that we've been hearing about? A pretty bleak assessment of London, Sophie.
I mean, it's really clear from the discussion we've had today that how complex the levels of violence and the causes for it are. So there is no one separate solution that's going to make the difference. And that's why working with the Mayor, with the Metropolitan Police, but that's only part of it. We are working with schools, we're investing in schools and investing with the community. You're absolutely right, talk about the role of community and the role of working with community. And that's where the Mayor is tonight. He had a long-standing commitment to work with families. And
we asked him weeks ago to appear on this
and it was a long-standing commitment, and that's where he is tonight. Honouring his commitment to communities.
Stephen, the Mayor says it's going to take 10 years to deal with this problem, to make significant progress. Is that acceptable for you?
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, the whole situation of knife crime right now is a problem that we can't just look at the Mayor, we can't look at the government, we can't look at the police. You know, let me say something. Life is all about leadership. What is the definition of leadership? The definition of leadership, is a personal sacrifice to a public problem. Every single one of us in this room has been affected by knife crime. You know, so in order for this whole situation to change, we all need to start taking personal sacrifices. What's a personal sacrifice? Me starting box up crime and giving up my own personal boxing career, you know, that was a personal sacrifice. You know, and I'm not waiting for no one to tell me what the vision is to see how things are going to change. What I believe is I'm going to have to come up with my own personal vision if I see a problem.
Paul, how do you support this generation?
No, I think what you've seen around London, actually, you can see some really good example of local choices with youth services, where some areas are working, some areas are not working. It's because of the choice that those boroughs have made. But what we've actually heard here tonight, it's not all about funding, as important as funding is. It's about leadership, it's about energy, it's about inspiration, it's about joining people up and bringing people together. So, you know, we can talk about policing, we can talk about numbers in the streets, we can even talk about stop and search, but that's actually taking knives that are already out there off the street. It's stopping them, having them in the hands in the first place.
I want to try and get as many of your points as quick as possible in. Quick point from you, then I'll come to Nikhila.
Like someone said earlier, not all the knife crime is related to gangs. I lost my oldest brother in 2017 in November to knife crime, which wasn't gang related. But one thing with me, I'm very proactive in helping the community, helping myself and my generation. I'm part of a youth board called the Mayor's Confederation Youth Board. We operate from City Hall, have meetings once or twice every month. And what we've noticed is that there's a lot of charities doing what they're doing, but they're not supported enough. Alongside what you were saying with music, I'm a musician myself. I rap, I sing, I produce. Man, I ain't got time, man, I ain't got time for the negative vibes. Enough man wanna hate on me, and I don't know why. You understand? And that's because I made that tune. Listen. I hear what? Most of the lyrics I write is very positive lyrics. And another thing as well, we always talk about schools, we always talk about youth clubs. I've seen one hella youth clubs get dropped, just like that, because they ain't given enough funding. People are talking about youth work. What about people in
The man responsible for that funding sitting next to you.
We need volunteers as well, actually, in youth services. And one of the main things is
Okay, hang on.
I wasn't even finished.
I said I'd go to Nikhila. Let's go to Nikhila. Thank you very much. I want to get everybody's views in. Can we get you to stand up? You were a former gang member. Is there a short-term fix?
There's not a short-term fix. I think the problem's been, I'm 30 now. There's problem, I've been a part of the problem. I'm a part of the solution now. So for me, it's getting in there and doing early preventative stuff, working with your local grassroots community groups and tackling the problem, getting into the communities and talking to these young people, seeing these young people from where they're at and establishing a solution to work to get them driven forward. Because right now, all systems and all services have failed young people. Kind of got to put our hands up and admit that we are facing a problem that it's either going to get worse if we don't put things in place now. Forget the whole ethos of money, because money is not the driving force of this problem. It's the community, and we all need to start taking owners, like everybody here is saying.
Nikhila, thank you. I want to come to Sharon. Can you tell us how you've been affected by knife crime and also what you think the solution is?
Yeah, so I lost my son in November 2017. He was 18 years old. He was stabbed 8 times. It ruined our lives. He was the most loveliest kid you could ever meet. I recognise the gentleman there. He operated on my son. He had his spleen removed, he had his lung removed, and our family's destroyed.
How do you feel about stop and search?
I think it's a must. My son was an 18-year-old boy. He got stopped constantly on the street. And he used to come home and he used to say, Mum, why am I getting stopped? I said, don't worry about it, son. You've got nothing to hide. Let the police do their job. And he didn't. He never had to go. He didn't have to go out with knives. And they stopped and searched him constantly. But it has to happen.
Young people of colour are disproportionately stopped and searched. As we know, if you are black, you are 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched for weapons. What are your thoughts on stop and search as a deterrent, as a solution when it comes to knife crime?
My son Michael Jonas was stabbed and killed. But there's a lot of stuff happening around us that people don't even seem to realize. It's very rare a rich person child is being stabbed. It's most poor people, right? And these youths who are so red-eyed, covetous, bad-minded, envious, because they will kill you for just what you have. How many youths out there right now would rob you of your mobile phone to go and sell that to buy a pair of trainers in one of the shops?
There are lots of young people here. You tell me.
Plenty of them out there will do that.
I personally think stop and search is, I think it worked. Hey, I'm speaking. I think stop and search is very important because I went to school in early 2008 and stuff when I finished school. That's when stop and search kind of stopped. And since then, I feel like it's just got more out of control. And the younger generation, we just cannot tame them because there's something called social media. And I feel like as parents, you need to open up a dialogue, have a conversation with your kids, because I think words are so powerful, and words can see this knife crime war into a different energy in a different space.
Okay, let's hear from some more of your views.
I just want to say, I'm not trying to blame on anyone, but parents, as parents, I feel like they should be more involved in the children's life. I get about the money, wanted to pay for the family, I get that. But my dad, before I leave the house, oh, go to school now, yeah, okay. What do you have today? What are you going to learn? See, because when I carry this big duffel bag, people might think, oh, what does he have in there? Well, obviously, my dad will ask me to peek it, innit? So he'll look, search me, good. I leave the house. So all those little trainings, those little checks, it doesn't hurt to check your child before he leaves the house. So
Has anyone here, can anyone share an experience of being stopped and searched?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
I've been told that I will get stopped and searched one day in my life. Why? Because I'm a young black man living in London. All of my older brothers have been stopped and searched. I was walking home one day from church, and a police van came, and it actually turned around to come back to me. And they said I looked like someone. I had a hood up. I didn't get that, but I personally think that how can I, someone who lives in the area, be scared to walk around that area? How can I be scared to walk down my road? How can someone be like, oh no, I'll pick you up from church, I'll drop you to church? It's not something about the police. Like, the police is involved, but it's not about them. It's about the mindsets and ideologies of young people in London.
Thank you very much. How effective is stop and search as a tool for you?
Well, we think that since we've increased the use of stop and search recently, because of the horrendous events that we've been talking about, some of the tragedies we've heard about, we have seen a change in the number of people injured with knives. I'm not complacent around that. It's very early. We've got an awful lot more work to do. It's not the answer, but it is one of the things that we need, from the police point of view, that we can do to help try and make the streets safer. But we're pretty sure that every knife that we do seize, we do take off someone in the street, is a benefit, and it reduces the risk to young people that someone else will get.
Thank you. Where's Donna? Donna, thank you. I'll come to you first.
On the question?
Yes, on stop and search.
For me, stop and search is the tool of choice of the Metropolitan Police to oversee the community. But I want to remind them that their mandate is to police by consent. And one of the things that we're not talking about is community engagement. You can't police us if there's no conversation. It's like going on a date and getting felt up, but you're not getting dropped home. You know, this, and I'm being serious. You know, I'm being serious. You know, we have to place more value on community engagement, and there has to be a safe space. So that here in Croydon, not here in Croydon, but in Croydon, we've seen a drop in our stop and search, and we've also seen a drop in our crime rate, and that's because I truly do believe my organisation, other organisations like mine, have been very forefront in creating safe spaces for young people and for adults to come and speak their real mind, not the kind of conversations they'd have perhaps with a social worker or a youth worker, but the real thing. I know there's been a lot of parents need to search their bags. There are a lot of parents parenting, they're not themselves are broken people. You understand? There's an expectation placed upon them that they can't fulfill. And instead of helping people meet their basic needs, we're busy asking them to feel self-actualized when there's a whole gap, a raft of things in between that the community is missing. And I agree with my brother here at the front. I think this is not my first time I've been on one of these shows. And for me, it's a lot of, and whilst I'm not disrespecting that, I do believe it's a time for us as a community to remember some of our former resilience and kind of look to ourselves for some of the solutions, because it's not their kids that's dying, it's ours. Because it's all right having stop and search, it really is, if that's the tool of measurement and choice. But what about the people that carry that out? If they are carrying that process out with bias, with something, I mean, we've got officers here policing in London who've never lived in an urban area and never come across such diversity in their lives. If their opinions are informed by the wider media of how we live, then of course they're going to police my young black brothers, and I'm a mother of two. Of course they're going to police them with bias, because it's a distorted, informed opinion. We need to get back to that level of dealing with the situation. Let's not just deal with up here. Let's go to the bottom and go back to some real community engagement where we're in the room together and respectfully address each other to highlight the differences, so that going forward we know we've started from a real place and not some surface dwelling.
And now, thank you so much. Now, I said I'd come to you because you've had your hand up for a while.
I was stabbed 10 years ago. I know exactly who done it. Until this day, I've never said anything.
Why haven't you said anything?
That's just my preference. I just rather not talk about that for legal reasons as well. My thing is, we need to educate everyone, literally everyone, on, first of all, they're blaming it on gangs. How did gangs start? The reason why, first of all, hear me out, the reason why we have gangs, yeah, the reason why in black communities gangs started in the first place back in the 80s was to protect ourselves from. Anybody know? Racism. Okay, cool. I'm not here to talk about racism. I'm not here to blame anybody, but I'm saying for you, the police, the government, understand why it started, and then you will find a solution. Understanding is key.
Thank you. And on that point, just because we are running out of time, in Glasgow they took a public health approach, and there are a lot of white gangs there, and knife crime has dropped dramatically there. I know that a similar approach is being taken in London. Can you tell us what this public health approach is, Sophie?
Absolutely. I mean, the public health approach is treating violence like a disease, treating the symptoms through enforcement, but then long-term intervention and prevention. And that's why when the Mayor talked about a 10-year programme, it was learning the lessons of Glasgow and setting up the violence reduction unit, which we are doing in London, but absolutely getting on top of it now. And the public health approach is about getting on top of it and making sure we continue that prevention.
You know what the government are trying to do with the public health approach? So if you're going to use what happened in Scotland, in London, it's kind of culturally different. So you must have like a cultural competence of how you're going to deal and interact with those youth. So it's a good idea what happened in Scotland, but transferring it just by saying take it from there, put it here in London, it won't work unless if you've got the real grassroots organisations involved.
Duncan, you think they should have started a long time ago?
Yeah, I think the public health approach, I think, is misconceived as just being a healthcare approach, and it's not. It's about supporting communities, it's about housing, it's about employment with real opportunities, not just telling people to be resilient. And it's about working together to wrap around communities to genuinely support them. And that's the key thing, and that takes time. But at the same time, you need to be able to interrupt the cycle of violence where it's at its hotspots. And the key examples of the Q Violence approach in Chicago, in the Cape Flats, and some of the most balanced environments around the world, is that it does genuinely work. But you have to have a long-term approach, but actually you need to address the violence now at the same time. And the cultural competence is actually the key.
I said I'd come to you first, and I will.
Hi, my name is Tanya Fullerton. I'm known in my community as Auntie Penge. I'm a single mum. I have 4 children, 21, twins of 16, and a 5-year-old. I decided to do my own project from home because no one wasn't helping to do anything. I've moved from Brixton, my own community, and I'm tired of moving. I'm not going to keep running from what's there. We have to deal with the situation. So I decided to have a club from my house. I was taking the youths out. I was cooking with them. I was doing party in the park. I was doing everything you could think of in my house. Yeah, and it starts from home. You are right about checking on your kids, 100%. My children, I check on all the time. I have individual conversations with them all because they are completely different. And the youths, as far as I'm concerned, need more attention.
When it comes to schools, what we haven't talked about, the role of education and exclusions being blamed, so young people being taken out of the education system and being put in pupil referral units. What's your view on that?
In education, I think one of the key elements is that the decision currently of the government is that there should be a particular kind of curriculum which is prefaced on an academic profile and is really one size fits all. And what we've heard today is we need a much more nuanced approach, and schools need the
ability to be able to choose the curriculum high quality but more varied and fit the needs of the children rather than fitting the children into the...
What are you doing in your school?
We try very hard to make sure that every young person understands that you can make a mistake and you can come back from it and learn, and therefore the inclusive approach is critical rather than the exclusive approach. Inclusion costs money though. It's more expensive in the short term, has much better longer term benefits. Exclusion saves issues quickly but stores up problems longer, and we're seeing that played out on the streets over and over again.
We are out of time, but I tell you what we can do, especially for people we haven't heard from. If I can just go round very quickly, people we haven't heard from, and tell me how you feel about the year ahead. Are you feeling positive? We haven't. What? One or two here, and then we'll come over here. Yes, you.
So if Sadiq Khan is saying that in the next 10 years, then he won't be able to do anything. Think about the 17 that got killed last year. If there are 70 more each year in the coming 10 years, that's 170 young people killed. And if we don't do anything about that, then that could increase to 27, 37, 47.
Thank you. Over there.
So I don't feel confident about the year to come. If someone speaks a certain language and you can't understand, you get someone who speaks that language. We speak the language of the young people, so we should be
I feel that people acknowledge the fact that we're young, but they don't acknowledge the fact that we go to school, we learn about Henry David, but they don't teach us about the future skills. And also, they're the first ones to say, what's going on at home? You need a social worker. But they're not there to say, here's the funding for our youth club. You've never seen a police officer in your state say, come, us youth, let's do a project, let's play basketball. What, the first thing they're ready to pick on that little black kid with a little knife to arrest him. Why? Thank you.
I'd like to add on to what he said as well. It's like schools, they're not teaching you to live the future, they're teaching you to live in a system. And it's like certain people in the community, they're there for you, and at home as well, they're there for you. But like there's people in schools and stuff like that, but they're ready to like pick on you. And there's Black History Month as well. That's changed to World History Month in my school. And we're always learning about bad slavery. We're never learning about the nice places like Morocco and all of these places.
I want to be a little bit more direct. There's something that Armani said at the beginning where he said there's a lot of people in here who are working on the ground to make sure that that we are actually connecting with the youth. I'm part of something with my best friend called Your Perspective, and we take time out of work, our own time out of day, to go into schools and talk to students and be like, look, this is the world, you know. There's so many options out there, and that's the thing. There's a lot of youths here that have so much potential, but they don't know. They don't even know how the world operates. And the minute they leave school, it's up to them, you know. And I'm saying to you, the government, yeah, you want solutions. There's people out here that come here and they can offer you. Look how many youth came out today and they said, you know what, we wanna be heard, you know.
It's the government who run this thing. The government, they have the education, but they don't have the common sense.
Like people like from other areas that have no money, nothing, ain't getting the support they need from school. So instead of learning about heritage, like you said, learn about things that are like gun violence and life violence to help other people around the country with support.
Talk about the thing.
That I have no faith in this year ahead, because we need to inspire our young people to take opportunities, because the real thing is that because poor people aren't given opportunities, poor kids are affected by knife crime. Rich kids aren't affected by knife crime as much because they're given more opportunities. We need to give our young people opportunities like work experience.
Are you feeling hopeful?
Yes, I'm feeling hopeful because I feel like it all starts with the mind, as everyone is saying here. We need to be positive about this. We need to say, you know what, we're all here today and we all share the view that something needs to happen, something needs to be changed. However, if we decide to say that, oh, we're not going to be optimistic about it, how is there going to be a change? We need to start. Everyone here is talking and I appreciate everyone's concerns. However, words don't mean nothing without action. You know that the government's not going to help us. If we all agree to that, okay, let's do it ourselves. We want to change. Change starts from within. So it's about time we step up together as communities and as minorities and obtain change.
And that's all we've got time for tonight. The debate continues on social media. You can have your say right now on BBC Radio London. My thanks to my guests, our audience here, and to you at home for watching. And I leave you with a message of hope from the young people we heard from at the start of the programme. From all of us here, good night.
Well, that was a long video, 44 minutes, guys. A very long video. I had to hold the phone there for a while. And like I say, we're going to film some more things and then put it on YouTube as well. So, I'm going to try and find the news channel. Where's it gone, the news channel? Something I want to find. See if I can find it though, because I did see it on there before. Right, so got a bit of itchy nose as well. Hell is it? Wait. Forest. I'm trying to find climate change. So climate change. No. Today's news. No. Where? What? I just can't understand. I'm trying to find what I'm to show this on YouTube, but I can't find today's news of all the videos and stuff. Shit. You know, I'm usually drawing my hair back, as you guys noticed, but I haven't done it today. 1 week away with Labour. Right, where? I'm trying to find something here, guys, but I can't find the bloody video. It's about the UK when it leaves the EU. It may be jammed up in the ports and short of food or whatever, but it's going to be a shame if that's the case, but I can't find the video to show you guys. Unless I type speak and say it in. UK's Brexit, short of food. So look here. Right, so there's one video here, but that's not the video I wanted to find. There's a I mean, there's this video.
I'm James Rothwell, the Daily Telegraph's Brexit correspondent, and I'm here today in Harrogate to talk to Tom Linden, a survivalist who's going to help us to do some preparation for what we might need in the event of a no-deal Brexit scenario.
There's another video I do want to show, but...
So Tom, we're here in Wheaton's, a food shop, where we're going to have a look around and see what type of food might be the best thing for us to stockpile. Yeah. Why don't we begin with some bread? This obviously is perishable, it's going to go stale, it's not going to last for a very long time, so what could we do to get around that?
Well, first of all, we wouldn't buy this bread. Nothing wrong with it, but it won't last long. Secondly, if something does happen, the shelves will be empty. So I would recommend a Neckerno.
Yeah, okay.
It's called bannock. It's been made for centuries. It's very simple, it's flour and water. You literally make a dough, something like a papier-mâché dough. I tend to do it in a Ziploc bag so that it doesn't make a mess. And then you just put it into the frying pan. A bit of butter, when it's golden brown, turn it over. You've got bread.
Okay. So in other words, I need to be buying not ready-made bread, but I need to be getting lots of flour so I can start making my own.
That's right.
The essential component, I would imagine, in a Brexit stockpile would be tinned food. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's cooked, so it can be eaten cold. The seal or the seam doesn't seem to be broken. It looks good all the way around. There's no rust.
Yep.
Safe to eat.
Now mine says best before September 2021. How long could I leave it, do you think?
Really, 10 years, 15, 20 years. If the seal isn't broken, the products inside should be good enough to eat.
But what about perishable food, fruit, vegetables? Because, you know, the government has warned that we could run out of that in a no-deal situation. So we're not going to be having access to this sort of food at all, are we?
Well, it depends on the time of year, of course. You can put them into a cold store. The Americans call it a root cellar.
Yep.
But it needs to be underground so it's cool. So you could sink a box into the ground, put these into it, put a lid on it, keep the moisture out, and they'll keep. But one of the best ways to keep this vegetable or these vegetables fresh is to leave them in the ground and use them when you need them.
Now, I imagine that no special stash would be complete without some meat, but then we run into the perennial issue of perishable goods, right? Just like some of the delicious meat that we have on this counter over here.
You could have your own little farm, if you wish, that you could harvest. What you've got to do is kill all the bacteria.
Right.
If you put it on a fire, you really want to make sure that everything's dead.
Yeah.
The bugs, bacteria. So by boiling it, you do that.
Now, the government has said that something like 40% of food and drink is imported from the European Union, which means there could be shortages if there's a no-deal Brexit situation, and that raises a big question mark over something that's quite important in most people's diet, it's probably fair to say, which is the occasional tipple. Now, stuff like all of this we're probably not going to have much access to if there are supply issues. So what should we do? Should we start making our own?
Well, what we would do is we'd stockpile our favourite drink. We could go down the route of making our own.
What sort of homemade alcohol might I be making in October then?
Well, you could use your apples from August, September.
Yeah, so exciting.
Cider. You could make honey mead.
Honey mead.
Which is what the monks used to make.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, we don't need alcohol. But we like to have it.
Yeah.
So, again, anything else you'd like to have, stockpile.
Well, that's quite an interesting sort of thing, really, stockpiling, but will everybody do that, though?
It's actually alright. It's not particularly anything special, if I'm honest.
Peppery.
Yeah, it's really good.
Very nice, yeah.
Passable. Passable.
That is actually made in California, not made in Scotland. And you know, with a whiskey, you have to mature it for 3 years for it to be a whiskey. That is made in 24 hours.
Wow.
That wouldn't surprise me because they can do it these days.
It's an interesting product and a new way of doing things, I suppose, isn't it?
I've drank some whiskey before that's minging, and that's not minging at all.
Well, right, so I hope there's not going to be a shortage of beer when we leave Brexit, you know. Would be quite annoying if that was the case.
Brexit means breakfast. It sounds like a slip of the tongue. But over a third of our food comes from the EU. And it turns out that a traditional fry-up is a pretty good example of some of the issues we might face if there's a no-deal Brexit come October. Thank you very much. Right, so how do you lay your eggs in the morning? Here's the good news. We produce more than enough eggs. So, boiled or fried, deal or no deal, our appetite for eggs will be satisfied. That's good, actually. Same is true for bread. If we have a particularly bad wheat harvest, we might import from France or from Germany, but on the whole, we'll be fine. Fruit and veg is another matter entirely. Luckily, there's not much of it in a fry-up, and that's just as well, because we import a huge amount of the fruit and veg that we eat from the EU. Tomatoes, for example, 1 in 5 of all the tomatoes that we eat have to be imported. And don't forget, you need tomatoes to make baked beans. Now for the good bit, bacon and sausages, and this is where things get interesting. We rear an awful lot of pigs in this country, but we're slightly squeamish about which bits of them we like to eat. We have an almost insatiable appetite for the legs and for the loins, and those are the bits that produce gammon, ham, it's where we get joints from, and most importantly for breakfast, it's where we get bacon. Now we want so much of this that we actually end up importing, and a lot of it comes from Denmark. On the other hand, slightly fattier cuts, the bellies and the shoulders, we don't eat so much of. And the shoulders are what go into making, for example, premium sausages. And because we don't eat all of the bellies and the shoulders that we produce, they end up getting exported. So if there are border controls following Brexit, That could mean that the price of bacon goes up, but the price of sausages falls. So what does Brexit mean for breakfast? Well, for one thing, it could mean double portions of bangers.
Well. Thinking. That's all I can do. I think we might leave it in this stream for now, guys. Or broadcast what I'm doing on the phone. Please like, comment, subscribe, share these videos with your friends, and I'll do some more videos like this tomorrow or later. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.